Hi, my name is Emma Nicholson. I am 20 years old, a soccer player, and a mental health advocate. This is my mental health story. Soccer has been a part of my life for almost 18 years. I've played club soccer all while growing up, and I played varsity soccer for all of high school. When I was 15, my family and I moved to Chiang Rai, Thailand, for missionary work. Then, when I was 16, we moved back to America. During this move back, I experienced severe reverse culture shock. This was the first time in my life that I experienced anxiety. I was so anxious that I opted for online schooling for my junior year of high school. Fast forward to my senior year, I was back to in-person schooling, and I was still playing soccer. My senior year ended up going very well. My club soccer team went to the national tournament, and I was being offered positions on collegiate level soccer teams. During the end of my senior year, I accepted an offer to play soccer at a small Christian school in the NAIA division. I was ecstatic to be playing soccer at this level, as you could imagine. July 2022, I moved to my college campus. Immediately, I felt isolated. I felt like an outsider on my own team. I was told that I did not belong there and that I was not fit enough to be playing on the soccer field. This negativity fueled my depression and anxiety. I was experiencing depressive symptoms for the first time in my life. Due to being told I was not fit enough and failing a fitness test, I developed an eating disorder. I began to starve myself in an attempt to improve my performance on the soccer field. In the middle of the season, I had experienced a severe concussion. I slowly worked back into practices, but my coaches and team thought that I was faking my recovery in order to avoid fitness tests. This was not true in any sense. I had suffered a severe concussion and was pressured back into playing before I was fully healed. This led to long-lasting side effects such as depression and anxiety. Once the season was over, I had a meeting with my coaches. My concerns about the season went unheard, and I felt as though I was dismissed. That night, I experienced suicidal thoughts and ideations for the first time. I felt as though I had no worth to the world. I was ready to take my life, but I never did act on that ideation. I ended up dropping out of college halfway through my second semester. At this time, I began to self-harm, on top of the pre-existing eating disorder and suicidal thoughts. I felt that I had no worth now that I was not playing soccer. I put my worth in soccer and my performance. I entered a dark depressive state, and I began to isolate myself and despise waking up every morning. That summer, I started playing semi-professional soccer. I was still self-harming, but I was beginning to heal. Fast forward a year, I was still playing soccer, but I was also in a very toxic relationship. I began to lose myself in this relationship. I lost all of my values and became someone who wasn't me. I returned to that dark depression that I had worked so hard to pull myself out of. I fell back into self-harm and disordered eating. I felt so helpless, like my life would never improve. One night, I had decided to take more antidepressants than what I was originally prescribed. At the time, I was just trying to make my mind go quiet. It wasn't until 3 days later, when I was in my therapy session, that I had the realization that I was trying to take my life. That night, my therapist sent me to the emergency room. I was sitting in that room for 6 hours before I was told that I was being sent to a mental hospital. At 6 a.m. the following morning, an ambulance came and picked me up and took me to the mental hospital I would stay at for the next week. Those 6 days were the most difficult days of my life, but they were also the most rewarding. I was faced with adversity, but I was also given the opportunity to find out who I truly was. I met some of the most incredible selfless people while I was there. I also met the most vulnerable version of myself. That week felt like the longest week I had ever had to endure. I was so relieved when that week was over, and I was finally able to share with my family the new things that I had learned and the new me that I had found. I went home and spent a few weeks trying to implement my newfound skills. This proved to be much more difficult than what I had initially anticipated. I then was faced with a difficult realization that I may need more help than what I was receiving. I made the decision to go to a 30-day residential treatment facility. This ended up being the best decision I could have ever made. I met the most incredible people, had the best staff members help me to achieve my goals, and I truly learned so much valuable information. I was finally able to be myself and discover who I truly was. I learned how to manage my anxiety, cope with my depression, replace my negative behaviors with more positive ones, and I learned how to be more mindful. The time I had at Ohio Recovery Center was so valuable, and I'll forever be grateful that God brought me to such an incredible recovery center. Mental health is something I have grown to be very passionate about. My mental health journey has not been linear, but it has been a beautiful process. I have gone through the darkest of times, but I've overall had a great transformation. I want to use my mental health story to help others know that it's okay to need help. Needing help doesn't mean that you're weak, but it does mean that you're strong and wanting to get better. I hope that I can inspire others to know that your mental illness does not define you, because you are more than your mental illness. Thank you.